Welcome back to Earth Station Trek, a show where we trek from the early days on NBC to the future on Paramount Plus and everywhere in between. I'm Charles Kelso, and it's my privilege to introduce the Earth Station Trek crew. Alan Seiler. That's you.
Alan's mic went
Veronica Dashel.
Hi.
And joining us this week, Vandy Beth Glenn.
This might sting a little bit.
And Alan Seiler.
Hi. How did all that happen on top of our opening credits?
I don't know.
I don't either. All right. Anyway, hi.
Hi.
How's everybody doing?
Awesome.
Yeah, welcome back.
Mm-hmm. Oh, is that for me? Thank you.
That's for anybody who'll take it right now.
That's for whoever was not here yesterday.
Right.
Yeah.
How are you, Vandy
Alan,
Beth? Sorry.
I am doing quite well.
Excellent.
Very good.
Alan, do we have some news this week?
Oh, what are you going to say, Vandy Beth?
Oh no, I was just going to say I just got off several weeks of being a poll worker.
Yep.
That's true.
Here in the state of Georgia, which was very, very satisfying.
Yeah, we wanted to have you on either of the last 2 weeks, and you're like, sorry, man.
Yeah.
Democracy takes precedence over Trek.
It's true, as it should.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, we have news this week. First of all, Terry Matalas has said a thing about the captain of the Titan A, which will be showing up in season 3 of Mr. Pickard. He says, quote, "That captain is also a major character. It's not a character you've ever seen before, and you will be hearing more about the Titan A from this captain. And it's an actor I'm very, very fond of." When a fan tweeted that Todd Stashwick, who played Deacon in 12 Monkeys, would make a great captain, Matalas responded, "Now that's a good idea," with a smirky emoji. Now, does that mean anything? No way to know. It's possible, though, because Matalas has stated previously that he had cast somebody from 12 Monkeys in Picard. And so far, no, 12 Monkeys person has shown up. So it could be that's who it is.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I've never watched 12 Monkeys, so I don't know this guy at all. I don't think I've ever seen. Oh, actually, he did play a Romulan or a Vulcan in sometime in Enterprise, in season 4 of Enterprise. Excellent. He played a Vulcan because he was in the 3-parter that was on Vulcan, the Forge and the whatever else and the other thing. So yeah, so he has a Trek connection.
Excellent.
Nice. Yeah. This past Sunday, December 11th, was the first annual Children's and Family Emmy Awards, and we have a couple of big wins. First, Prodigy took home the award for Best Production Design, and rightly so, I must say, because that is a gorgeous looking show. Yeah. It was also nominated for Outstanding Animated Series, but City of Ghosts, which I'm not familiar with that show at all. So I don't know what it's like. And also at the awards, LeVar Burton was given a Lifetime Achievement Award for his work on 21 seasons of Reading Rainbow. The special Emmy was presented to Burton by Lawrence Fishburne, who introduced a pre-recorded intro video that included a tribute from TNG co-star Whoopi Goldberg and ended with a message from his former captain, Sir Patrick Stewart. Burton mentioned in his speech that he was inspired by 3 great creators: Roots author Alex Haley, Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry, and children's television icon Fred Rogers.
Yeah.
So
all worthy of being inspired by. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, he definitely deserves the accolades for it. I mean, I was in the Reading Rainbow generation. I grew up. I knew about Reading Rainbow before I knew about Star Trek. So I grew up with LeVar Burton, so I love to see him getting all the props he can get.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And I remember us mentioning once before that episode of Reading Rainbow where they showed what am I trying to say? Bloopers from the early episodes of TNG.
Yeah, they did a whole behind the scenes thing.
They did on how
talk
the
about
show
that.
was made.
Yeah, my earliest memory, I think, of
Mhm.
that of Star Trek.
Was there a book of bloopers?
Nope. He just took the rainbow cameras on the set and talked to the crew and went behind the scenes, and
It was awesome.
yeah, it was fun. Still on YouTube.
Yeah. Speaking of Sir Patrick Stewart, he has joined TikTok, or maybe someone joined on his behalf. I'm not sure. And he launched his new account, I think today, by reading the first bit of 12 Days of Christmas in a comfy chair in front of his fireplace. So I imagine we'll be seeing him for the next every day up until Christmas time, reading more from that story.
Awesome.
Yeah, he'll be very popular on TikTok. I suspect.
I didn't know there was a story of 12 Days of Christmas. I thought it was just a song.
There you go.
Get TikTok and find out.
Yeah. I mean, you can't go wrong with having Sir Patrick Stewart read a story to you.
Are you sure it wasn't 12 Monkeys of Christmas?
It could have been. It could have been. That's very true.
Terry Metalis is involved.
Yeah, it's time traveling all over the place.
I would go watch that right now.
Sounds amazing to me. And then 2 quickies. Strange New Worlds Season 1 will be released on Blu-ray, DVD, and Steelbook on March 21st. And comics company IDW celebrates the 30th anniversary of DS9 with a new miniseries called Dogs of War. And the first issue of that will be out April 2023. There you go. That's the news. It's a wrap.
Yep. Well, if you don't mind me throwing one in.
Yeah, please throw one in.
Gabrielle Beaumont passed away this week.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to mention that.
Yep, I know that just that news just recently came out, so it sort of wasn't on your list. But she was the first female director for Star Trek. This the list of episodes she directed. I'm not going to read all of them, but Booby Trap, Disaster, Face of the Enemy, Lower Decks, and Purgatory Shadow, Blink of an Eye. Like they're just classic after classic.
Great episodes.
Absolutely. And so, obviously she was pioneering and opened a lot of doors and, produced a lot of great work.
Yeah.
All right. And then I don't have a whole This Week in Trek again. I mean, This Week in Trek history again, but I did want to mention that yesterday was the 30th anniversary of Chain of Command, which we were by coincidence just rewatching this week. And, it's a fantastic 2-part episode. I mean, that's one of those 2-parters that everyone remembers forever. It's just stellar, and just the guest cast in that episode is fantastic.
And it was never planned to be a 2-parter.
Was it not?
No, it was a single episode, and they were, I forget what happened. But they lost an episode somewhere down the thing, and they're like, well, we can't we don't have the money to build like new sets and stuff. So they just wrote that second episode onto it. And the second episode is the one, where Picard is being tortured. That's the episode.
Yeah.
And that was the add-on.
Well, we need an all-time classic episode. Someone write one and slot it in right here.
Exactly. Yeah.
That worked out.
To go.
Yeah. Awesome.
Exactly. It's just like the last song thrown onto an album ends up being the biggest hit.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I always, when we're working on a puppet show, I always think back to watching Get Back and watching Paul McCartney just like squeeze songs out of his brain.
You're right.
At the last minute. And I always feel better about myself that if that's how Paul McCartney does it, then we're doing it right too.
we'll be Beatles soon.
Exactly.
All right. Well, speaking of Chain of Command, we're going to be talking about Jellico tonight. And Vandy Beth Glenn, you're joining us for that. So if you're listening on the audio podcast, we'll take a quick break and promote a fellow ESO Network podcast show. But we'll be right back, so stay right there. And if you're watching with us live, we're going to get right into our discussion of Edward Jellico. Yeah. And I ran some polls this week, just sort of curious. I know Jellico could be a polarizing figure. And so on our Facebook group and on Mastodon and on Twitter, I ran polls, basically just yay or nay about Jellico. And results are pretty split on Facebook and Mastodon, or on Facebook and Twitter. It was pretty pro Jellico, and then Mastodon was very anti Jellico. So
that's an interesting.
But it's interesting.
That
Yeah.
is, I mean, that's a sociological study right there of the people who are still on Twitter and the people who have moved. Like, there's got to be some kind of like delineation of mindset.
Well, let's say how we voted first before we start lumping up into political groups. I'm gonna change my vote because I like Jellico.
Oh, I love Jellico.
Okay, good.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that, we've had that discussion before about, is Star Trek military? I mean, Starfleet, is it military or is it not? And I think that had we had a captain like Jellico running throughout TNG, there would be no question. It's a military organization. He runs it very militarily. He's very by the book. He's very on a schedule. He's very, I'm going to make these changes and things are going to run the way they run. And that's it. Why you laugh at me?
You say very military, like he's asking something unusual from his crew. He gives the crew orders and he expects them to be carried out. That's like baseline military.
Exactly. But what's interesting to me about these episodes is that by doing that, you draw that contrast with Picard's style. And yes, Picard comes down hard sometimes. And yes, Picard, disciplines sometimes. But at the same time, he seems much more lenient, especially when you compare it to Jellico.
That's interesting too. That say Picard seems more lenient because Picard, especially originally, was very much like, make sure I don't make an ass of myself in front of kids. It was like from episode 1. Like, he's not really like a warm and fuzzy guy, you know. But I think part of it too, and Ronnie Cox was just recently saying this, was that part of the reason his character stood out so much was that TNG was a very like non-confrontational show, like not sort of against conflict amongst the crew. And then I think whenever you have a character like Jellico or Shelby or Ro Laren who has a lot of conflict, they sort of leap out of the show at you, Vandy Beth, you were in the military. So
yes, I was a naval officer back in the before times. And it's there was a kind of a parallel history on the ship that I served on. We had when I first joined that crew, we had a captain who was very laid back and easygoing, and the enlisted men loved him, and me and my fellow officers. Oh, something happened to my camera.
Yeah, your camera.
Yeah, you all lost.
Okay. Can you still hear me anyway?
Oh, yes, we hear you.
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Well, now we can't.
Yeah,
well,
and
I've never going well tonight.
I know. I never served in the military, but I mean, just working professionally, I have to adapt to different bosses, and I'm in a position right now where I'm sort of like the number 2 to the person who's running the operation, and I've done that at a couple different locations now, and having to deal with over the last 7 years very different management styles and implementing very different policies, sometimes at the same location, sometimes in a different territory, and that's just something that you sort of adjust to what the boss wants to make, and you bring your concerns to them, but also getting folks on board. And I know Jellico was in a situation where they were about to head into a very tense diplomatic situation that could very easily turn into a shooting war.
Yes.
So he came out of the gate like, here's the plan, implement it, and didn't expect to find out later it hadn't happened.
What I find so interesting though is that it illustrates the crew's difficulty in making that adjustment. And they even, try to go to Jellico and say, hey, look, this isn't what we're used to. Picard does things a different way. And he's like, well, screw that. I'm not Picard. I'm running the ship right now. This is what you're going to do. I loved that about him. Now, hello, Vandy Beth. How are you?
Hey, welcome back.
I'm good. And I was just going to say was we had a captain who was very easygoing and lenient and not such a stickler for a lot of the rules, and the enlisted men on our ship loved him, and me and my fellow officers couldn't stand him because we never knew what we could count on. We never knew we never knew when suddenly a protocol or a rule that had always been followed would suddenly be not that important anymore.
Mhm.
And
Well, that makes it very difficult.
exactly. And then we had a change of command, because these things happen when you're not on TV. And our new captain was very by the book. He sternly enforced all military protocol and pomp and rules and regulations. And me and my fellow officers, well, I wouldn't say we loved him, but we always knew where we stood with him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the enlisted men, of course, couldn't stand him.
Yeah.
Right.
But we got things done under the new captain. And we even had a circumstance where the number of watches changed under the new captain, just like Jellico
Interesting.
did on the Enterprise.
That's interesting.
How did they expect then basically the next shift to suddenly be the new shift that was not there before, and they're pulling from other shifts for all these things, and suddenly all these other people's sleep schedules are just effed? Or was it more of a, hey, we need to get this going, let's get this started and get people on a schedule and we can have it going by tomorrow? Or was it like in 2 hours we're going to have a new shift, go? Because that's what it seemed like to me.
Well, to be fair, though, that happened after the party, which I don't know how long a period of time that when Riker was like, oh, yeah, by the way, I didn't do that because everybody thought it was a bad idea. I asked him, and Jellico, we're warping to Cardassian space. We're going to be there in 2 hours. Go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're going into a clearly hostile and very dangerous situation. Obviously, that's not the time to get slack about your orders. And Jellico was completely right to tear Riker a new one over that.
I agree that it was appropriate to tear him a new one over not following orders. I think making a change that is fairly that drastic very quickly, right before they're going to be going into a hostile situation, is a bad thing, because I'm just thinking as one of the workers where I'm on second shift, suddenly I'm on fifth shift and I have to get up 4 hours earlier, and my schedule's not going to be like that. And my first week doing that, I'm going to be crap on the job because my sleep schedule is going to be completely fucked up.
It sounds like
you're going to be messed up.
Sorry. It sounds like you're saying being in the military is a difficult job, Veronica.
Yes. Which is why I was not.
Yeah.
So, Vandy Beth, this is a topic that you wanted to discuss for a while, and we were trying to find a place to put it. And then, those intrusive elections came up, and you weren't available for the last few weeks. I know. So, what was it? What is it about Jellico that you wanted to bring to this show, to this discussion?
Well, I think as I've already indicated, I'm a big fan of the character, and I think. I just think he was what the show needed, and maybe the series and none of the series would have been as popular if more of the captains had been like Jellico. But he is one of the more realistic captains or commanding officers we've ever seen on the series, and I just appreciate the heck out of that.
Yeah.
From his constantly beating Riker about the ears to immediately gaining the respect and loyalty of Data in a way that we've never seen.
Data followed him around
from Data before, exactly. to his
it's
to his casual suggestion to Deanna, a military officer, that maybe she should be wearing a military uniform.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
I did like that part.
It's like she's been flouncing around in pretty dresses for 5 years, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing on this bridge in a pretty dress?"
Exactly.
Uniform. She never put on the flouncy pretty dresses again from that point on to the end of the series.
Never
So
again.
obviously he had an effect.
Yeah, and I seem to remember reading once that Marina Sirtis had always wanted to be in a standard uniform, and there were technical costuming or makeup reasons why they couldn't, and it wasn't until Chain of Command where they were required by the story to figure that out. And so obviously Troy wasn't happy to have to start wearing a uniform, but my understanding is Marina Sirtis was over the moon that she could finally wear uniforms.
Right. I remember the showrunners saying, like, early on, you know, that Marina is a beautiful woman and you don't want to hide that beauty underneath a uniform. And then at that point, and I don't remember if it was the same person or not, but at that point, the showrunner's like, well, Marina's a very beautiful woman and she just wears the heck out of that uniform. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Good political flip-flop there, buddy.
They didn't want to hide her beauty under a uniform, but they did want to hide it under that hideous jumpsuit that she wore instead.
Right.
So I don't see the problem.
Exactly.
Veronica, you and I just rewatched it. How well did you remember Chain of Command before we watched it this week?
So I had forgotten that the Four Lights was part of this episode.
Okay. Well, how well did you remember Jellico?
I remember Jellico.
Okay.
And I remembered him being like he was. And I don't like the character. I like the way that the character was used to tell the story.
Okay.
But I do not like the character.
You're relieved of duty, Veronica.
Yes. I'm 100%
and you're on
with
fourth
Riker.
shift now.
I know what's going on, and I know how this crew works, and the crew trusts me, and you're being completely insane asking for all these sudden changes across the board. And I'm going to come to you and tell you about this, and then you're going to be like, go to your room. Oh, wait, you're the only one that can do this mission. I'm not going to order you.
Right. Let me get a couple of comments. Matt Sweatman says about Jellico, to be fair, we really only see Jellico in a situation that could have led to war, and he needed to be very strict. Exactly.
Who is that being fair to?
Jellico.
Jellico?
Okay.
You might be watching.
You never know. And then about Deanna, he says, besides, we needed her to be in the uniform for the cake they made to cut into. They would have made the cake in a different design.
Sure.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah.
A cake can look like anything.
Well, moving away a bit from his command style and to his negotiating skills, what do we think of the way he was handling the Cardassians?
That was not the way to handle the Cardassians.
You don't think so?
That was exactly the way to handle the Cardassians.
Agreed. It's just like at the beginning of Discovery where you're like, do you open fire because the Klingons respect, the Vulcan hello, that the Klingons respond a certain way to a certain thing, and the Cardassians do as well.
Right.
I think the problem, though, is that the Cardassians are better at establishing the dominance than he is, because he's going to make them wait and then try to assert dominance, and they're going to abduct the captain of the Enterprise.
Yep.
And use that in the negotiation. Like they're playing the long game. They invented this whole secret base to lure Picard there so that they would have him to go into the situation with.
Yep.
And Jellico's like, all right, so I'm going to make them wait for half an hour and then they'll be sorry.
I still think that he was right in his action. I just don't think he was right in his prediction of their response to his action.
Yeah, I think he has an understanding of how Cardassians, their minds work.
Right.
But he's a Starfleet officer. He would never have thought of kidnapping Gul Madred and having him in the back room to go into the negotiations with, whereas the Cardassians are, they're playing chess and he's playing checkers.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's. I thought it was interesting. He's trying to outdo them at being the way they are.
Yeah.
and you just can't. You know.
Also, he was acting super crazy with them. like he was acting like a lunatic when he was in the room.
It's fun though. It's fun to watch him.
It is. It was hilarious to watch because I'm just there like, why are you being an idiot? Stop being an idiot.
I love
Please
that.
Stop being an idiot.
I love
Stop.
that scene where Riker's like, "Well, at least he's sure of himself," and Deanna's like, "No, he's not." Because it's a put on.
Yeah.
But he's selling it though.
But I think isn't a lot of things in that kind of situation and that kind of negotiation a put on.
Yeah.
You have to put on a front. You have to present yourself in a certain way.
Definitely.
So she could have read that from anybody who was in a negotiation situation.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think she was reading him from what he was saying to them after he had left the room.
Yeah, it could be.
And his certainty of this is going to go well and this is what's going to happen. And
He's projecting his confidence in front of the crew. He's not going
Right.
to walk on the bridge and say like, "I hope this works or we're all screwed," because the crew is going to be shaken up.
Exactly.
I mean, but I think probably a lot of his actions through the episode is he's not sure if he's doing the right thing. But how can you be? You make a plan and then you're heading into a conflict with an alien species. I mean, the best thing you can do is act like you know exactly what you're doing.
Right.
That's true in all avenues of life.
Yeah.
Especially brain surgery.
I think the difference I see in those types of things with Jellico and people like Picard and Sisko is you see the aside of them talking to their science officer, their first officer, someone of, I'm not sure this is going to work, but we're going to go in strong, either before or after. But you didn't get that with Jellico. He was just pretending that he knew exactly what he was doing the entire time, which I think is what pissed me off. He was not trying to have any kind of relationship with his crew. I mean, granted, he knew that he was pretty sure that he wasn't going to be staying there.
Right.
So on one hand, I get that. But also based on what little of a personality we saw, I don't think he is a personable person in general.
Well, he's got like a family. He's got kids. He's got some kind of life back home.
He has a son who's bad at drawing elephants.
That's what pushed him over the edge.
I love that bit where Deanna comes in to talk to him about how the crew's not so sure and this too much changing too fast. He's like, "Well, thank you for letting me know. You're in charge of their feelings." And making sure they get on board.
Exactly.
That's my favorite.
You
my
make them
favorite
all
scene
feel
in the
better. I
episode.
expect it to be done.
Now go change.
Get rid of that flouncy pretty dress.
Right.
She wasn't even wearing a flouncy pretty dress. I was one of her like onesies.
No, she was wearing the ugly onesie that time.
Yeah.
The gray one with the gray purple one with the purple thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Why do you think Data took to him so well?
Because I think he took Data's like, oh, this is how things are. And yes, this can happen. I think it was him accepting Data's that, yes, this is possible. And Data is just like, oh, okay, the captain agrees with me. I'm going to follow him around. It wasn't anything like Data took to him. It was oh, okay, the captain is wanting me to do things.
I think Data took to him because he's a logical being and he understands where Jellico comes from and the decisions he's going to make.
Okay.
Right. Data is not emotional, and Jellico did his best to remove emotions from the equation. He was
There you go.
He was a no nonsense captain, and
Right.
And emotions are nonsense.
That's very Vulcan of you.
Yeah.
One of my least favorite scenes, which uses Data and where Jellico's like ordering Geordi to make these changes, and Geordi's like, it's within parameters, and he's like, it's not up to my standards. We need to improve it by 15%. And Data's like, it is possible to do it in that amount of time. And Geordi's like, yes, if I work every single person around the clock for 48 hours or 24 hours or whatever it was. And Jellico's like, all right, great, get to work. And Data's just like, like, yes, Data, I'm glad you can work 24 hours around the clock. These people are not Data. I'm sorry. They have to
But
sleep.
but at the same time,
Rotate.
they're now on a 4-shift duty rotation, so every shift is cut short because you still work on a 24-hour basis, right? So now you have the 6 hour, so they're not going to get as overworked. Maybe.
No, because he said everyone working around the clock. So that made me think all now 5 shifts working
4
for
shifts.
24 hour strafes.
Well,
No,
maybe.
it was 3. It was 4 and now it was 5, right?
I think it was 3.
No, it's 3 and now it's 4. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Well, if you have a special job that needs getting done, then you're gonna
Yeah, well, that's true.
people are gonna work extra hours.
Right.
Never mind the duty rotation.
Exactly. Just
That's an
like
easy
in
decision,
retail.
too. I'm glad we're not in a money-free society, because that's the only thing that keeps bosses now from doing that. All the overtime.
Right.
You don't have to worry about that. It's P&L is going to be fine. Yeah, I like when a character like this, or like Shelby, or like Rolaren come into the show. You can really see the contrast with the next gen crew, and I like seeing. I mean, frankly, I like seeing Riker get his feathers ruffled and Geordi pissed off in the hallway. I did think it was kind of unprofessional that Geordi and Riker are just walking down the corridor bitching about the captain.
Yes.
Like, there's crewman walking by and stuff. Like, man, this guy sucks.
I love those scenes.
That is not the way to do it.
Right.
I love those scenes of Geordi and Riker whining about having to work so hard.
Right.
I drink their tears like wine.
I'm drinking wine.
That's true. That's true.
I drink their tears like hard seltzer.
This is one of the most sympathetic characters I've seen Ronnie Cox play, I think.
That's saying something.
Well, he was the guitar player in Deliverance. He was pretty good guy there.
Yeah. I know him more from,
until
like,
he got
Stargate
killed by hillbillies.
Yeah, I haven't seen Deliverance in quite a while, but yeah, most of his sci-fi roles, he's not playing a nice guy.
Yeah, RoboCop, Stargate.
Yeah. Veronica, you know him most from Stargate. Do you think Senator Kinsey influences your perceptions of Jellico at all?
Probably.
He looks just like him.
Yep.
True.
Acts a lot like him too.
Because Kinsey's a worse human being than Jellico is.
Yes.
Jellico's trying to keep everybody alive, ultimately. He doesn't know if they're all going to be alive next week. I'm sorry you're having to work long hours and you hate your job today, but hopefully you'll be alive next week to care about it, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe we won't all die before the Federation falls.
Yeah. I do
There's
like
a lot on the line.
Yeah, exactly. I do like at the end, though, Picard comes back on the ship and Jellico is basically like, the chair is yours once again. Everything will return to the way your crew likes it to be. And he just kind of steps away. And that's great. Mm-hmm. He recognizes that Picard has a different style, a different command style than he does. And that's okay. So.
Yeah. I would have loved a spinoff with Jellico and Shelby as his
God, yes.
What a great show that would be.
Oh my God. Everybody would hate them and it would be great.
Everybody would hate them.
That would be the entire premise of the episode.
Yes.
Yeah, that series would not last.
I think it would have, because it would be like you watching yourself complain about your boss constantly. I feel like people would love that so much. Watch a Star Trek crew basically be themselves at their job.
So is it The Office?
I don't know. I've never seen The Office.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
But a hard ass rather than an incompetent.
Right. Yeah. He's not a Michael Scott.
No, he's not a Michael Scott. Definitely not.
That'd be a very different show.
Right.
Jellico's not going to have a world's greatest captain coffee mug in his ready room that he bought himself.
Right.
That he replicated himself.
And you can always have Rainn Wilson switch over to his mud character at any moment.
There you go. All right. Well, do we want to go ahead and transition over to talking about Star Trek Prodigy?
Let's do.
Mm-hmm.
Veronica, you got a spoiler warning for us?
I'm trying to think of
Wow.
something I haven't done before. Hold
Just
on.
say
Just
spoilers
do
or something.
something.
Keep going.
What? Spoilers. What? Spoilers.
Perfect.
What?
Good job. That's kind of a bird.
Like the red alert,
Oh,
like old school red alert.
okay. Okay, I can see it. Yeah. All right. Well, that's spoilers for Star Trek Prodigy MindWalk.
Y'all can't see it, but my dog came over and stared at me when I was making that noise.
Well, I'm not surprised.
MindWalk. What do we think?
Your
That was so
dog's
much
thinking
fun.
what we're all thinking, Veronica.
What the F was that? And why did I have to hear it?
Yes.
Okay, what do we all think of MindWalk?
I love this episode.
Yes.
Yeah. Me too.
God, this was great.
It is
Yeah.
the top two. No, it is my favorite mind swap episode of Star Trek this year.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I know you were a big fan of I can't remember the name of the Vulcan one on
Spock-a-muck.
Strange New Bakamak on Strange New Worlds.
Do you
So this one
remember
has
that?
topped it.
Do you remember that? Because
Don't
I think
I?
if
Well,
you do, your memory is faulty. Because
I thought you defended it.
maybe I did, but
Okay.
maybe
So
my
what-
own mind has been swapped.
It's possible.
But-
So what other one comes in second place to this one?
Oh, it would be that one. As
Oh,
far
because
as-
there are only two, right?
Yes.
Okay. But it's
This-
a more distant second than I was thinking.
I think that's right. Yes.
All right.
I love. I mean the premise was kind of ridiculous, but
Yes.
a mind swap always is. So
Sure,
I
sure.
just sort of swallowed that and moved on. And after that, I just thought Kate Mulgrew's acting was fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Loved it.
I
That
thought
was the
Brett
highlight
Gray
of the
was good, too.
episode. What's that?
Yeah, I thought Brett Gray was good too.
I totally
I thought they
agree
both
with
did a
you.
Great job.
He
Mhm.
did
Yeah.
an amazing Janeway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, she was great as Dal. It was. I mean, it's.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As she was doing all those things, like I pictured Dow like puppeteering her body from inside her skin or something. I know that's kind of creepy sounding, but
That's
that's
what
I
brains
was
do.
picturing. That is true. That is true. That's what brains do, is puppeteer you.
That is tremendously creepy sounding. I'm staring at you like your dog does right now.
Yeah, this episode had a lot that you have to sort of just let go with the plot. There's a lot of things that sort of strain credibility. I feel like Janeway's crew should have got wise a little sooner than they did, because she was
yeah.
acting pretty strange the whole episode. And things like the starships are flying close enough together that you can play charades between two
Right.
windows. I mean, it's like if you're in an office building and you're going to play charades with somebody in another office building, like that's hard. You can't see them that well.
No.
You know, and if you ever
Exactly.
look at the windows on those ships, they're just a little blown out. Like, but then as soon as Dahl's ready to jump out of the ship, all of a sudden it's way far away. It's like dramatically far away to things like that are a little tough to swallow. But
And if they, instead of playing charades, why didn't they just hold up signs? Like in those Hallmark commercials where there's like, a building across the street from each other and they communicate by holding up signs. Just write the
Right.
thing out.
Yeah.
Can Dahl read?
Well, that's a good point. At the same time,
Universal
though,
translator.
yeah. At the same time, though, this is the second opportunity that Dahl had to actually speak the situation to a Starfleet officer, and he didn't take it. He could have said, "Look, I'm not your Janeway. I am. There's been a thing. Do you think that would have worked? Do you think? I mean, obviously, with Essentia, it would not have worked. But what about antennas and I loved when he
Antennas
called.
charged.
Yeah, I
Keep
loved
being
it.
awesome. Pew pew.
God, I love that so much when Janeway was like pew pew.
Yeah, but you feel like if Picard was going pew pew, you'd have a dramatic look from Riker to Worf.
Yes!
Like that would not go on for half the episode before anyone figured it out.
Yes, exactly. They did talk in the corridor. Well, she's just acting a little weird,
Right. Or
Look
if Picard
into
spits
it.
out his Earl Grey and says, "Why does he like this stuff?"
Right.
You know, they're like,
Come on.
this crew's first mission.
Pretty much. Of
Well,
course, we
I
have to
would think-
remember that this show is for kids and it would entertain
Yeah.
kids. So
I know.
Well, also, once you reach the rank of vice admiral, you've been in the service for long enough. People are used to not questioning your actions, and so you have to deviate pretty far from the norm before people start to think, "Hey, maybe we should do something here."
Yeah, I mean, she was deviating pretty far from the norm.
I
though.
think so.
Well, I know, and eventually it reached that point,
Yeah.
as we saw.
Yeah.
But I think it was fairly credible that it took them as long as it took them.
Yeah, I think it was just fun enough that it doesn't really
Yeah.
bother me. But I
Yes.
just wanted to mention it though. You know, and
Right.
things like the charades or like transferring your mind through a phaser beam.
That was-
Things like that. That's just the episode's fun enough that I don't really care. I mean,
Exactly. Now,
I thought it was
if Keith were here, he would probably go off on the science of phasering yourself and to create a vortex or whatever the hell it was.
A conduit.
A conduit. That's it. So I speak on Keith's behalf.
I mean, they established it at the beginning of the episode that any sort of
Mhm.
of energetic connection between them, because it was a what was it that made the swap in the first place? It was
It was,
Some
It was
phaser from the
Zero
ship.
and the hive mind plus the Organian DNA and the phaser beam hitting the ship.
phaser beam. That was
Right.
it. Yeah.
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 So we
Yeah,
already
there's
had the
a lot of-
precedent of a phaser beam
Yeah.
enabling that.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that doesn't make it less silly.
Yes, it does.
Oh, sorry.
The first time, but the second
My
time
bad.
it's established. That's how
Okay.
Star Trek works, right?
Right.
Matt Sweatman says Dahl in Janeway's body reminded him of Cassandra in David Tennant's body in Doctor Who.
I thought Cassandra took over Rose's body.
The F.
Well, she did both.
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know if we're. Hey,
Are we still here? Okay, awesome.
Wait, is who still here?
We
you
are?
guys disappeared from our screen,
Yes.
and then now you've
Oh.
returned. So I don't know if we
Interesting.
disappeared from the stream or what.
No,
I continue to be able to see all three of you.
we continued to exist.
Excellent.
Excellent.
I think someone phasered someone else, and
Right.
your
It was
minds
connected.
walked somewhere.
Yep.
Anyway, yes, I love this episode. I thought it was
Yeah.
a really good. From the last week, which was sort of like a pause on the continuation of the main storyline. I think this one just
Oh, yeah.
rocketed
Mhm.
forward.
Well, I
Very
like
good.
that they got the Janeway in the dark thing out of the way, but now there's a new complication. That's what we talked about with the show before. They're good at that, of getting past this hurdle, and now the next hurdle is that Janeway's in the brig,
Yeah, she
and
was
they're
acting like
facing the entire Federation Starfleet apparently.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which is bad news.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
What do y'all think about what's his face letting Janeway go?
Oh, that
The
seemed
diviner?
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense to me.
No.
He
That
just
seemed
karate
out of
chopped her like 2
character.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
He karate chopped her and then threw her in the closet, and then when
Right.
she was in the brig, he's like, you know what? I've had a change of heart because you were nice to me.
Yeah.
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 I didn't.
That did not fit.
And it didn't make a lot of sense that there's no one standing around guarding her.
Yeah, that too.
Like the captain is potentially possessed or replaced or whatever. We've got her, or the admiral, and she's strapped and down in sick bay. This diviner guy we just picked up and go in and talk to her by himself. That'd be fine,
Yep. That's fine. He's
Yeah.
definitely not part of the problem.
right? He's unrelated entirely
Yeah.
to what's going on.
He's a perfect unknown thing.
Yeah,
That unknown things never cause problems.
Right.
right. Yeah, but like I said, I liked this episode a lot. I thought it was fun. It's really great for the performances. I liked the Janeway and Janeway scene. I liked that they switched
Oh,
back
yes.
to Admiral Janeway for that scene.
Mhm.
Yes.
Right.
I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Character building as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd been wondering since the show premiered if hologram Janeway was ever going to meet actual Janeway, and
Right.
And I thought it was a lovely moment.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what are we looking forward to for next week?
I want to
can't even
see how
predict it.
Janeway's gonna get out of the brig and what
Right.
she's gonna say. And
She's gonna talk to either tusks or antenna and sway them to like convince them to wherever that, you know, so that they take her side. I mean, it's not going to last like more than one episode. She'll be out of it next week, but
Yeah, because we've only
Yeah.
got 2 more episodes. in the season,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
and we're coming up to what is the end of the first season.
Yeah.
We're so used to 10
Mhm.
episode runs that this is actually a 20 episode run that's been split all to hell in
Right.
like 3 different chunks. But so there's going to be a bit, I just feel like there's got to be a big ending in 2 weeks, you know,
Yeah.
to keep you hooked until the season 2 comes out.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait. I love cliffhangers.
Oh, I wanted to say about this episode. I loved the moment early on when Janeway was in Dal's body and the rest of the Protostar crew asked her who she was, and she stood up proudly and erect and said, "I'm Admiral Janeway." They played it like a hero moment, and even Dal's tail was fluttering off to the side,
Right.
Right.
Like a flag
like a
behind
flag, exactly.
her.
That is so true.
That's awesome.
Oh, that was good.
I like how
Man.
we've got to the point now that Rock Talk is just spewing the technobabble left and right.
Yep.
You know, they sort of have over the course of these 18 episodes eased into it, but
Mhm.
and now she's just full on science officering.
Yeah. And then Dick and Pog was like, beep boop, beep boop, beep boop. I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. That was
I
great.
do 2 things that I really liked about that. One is that Janeway tells Rock, "You're going to make a great science officer one day," you know, which just
Yes. Oh,
lights
that was adorable.
lights her up. But the
Mhm.
other thing is, I'm sorry, but Dal is never going to be in Starfleet because he is an augment.
Mm.
And
But-
Gwen's reaction to that, you know, I love that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to get around that because is he an augment? Did they
Yes.
actually start off with a human and then augment him? Or did they start off with human DNA in a petri dish and augment that? So technically, he's not an augment. He is a new species.
Well, I think that'll
Maybe.
be part of the discussion of next season. I think that that's really going to
Yeah.
come to a head. I think we're going to have a Measure of a Man kind of episode
Mhm.
next year.
Yeah.
Maybe so.
I hope that would be. I mean, I'd prefer time travel, go back and find Chakotay, or go forward and find Chakotay, or whatever. But that would be really interesting as well to have a season about, or several episodes about Dow and deciding if he's a new species, if he is an augment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Although they're already going to be playing that theme in Strange New Worlds next
Mhm.
season. So
That's
Mhm.
true. That is true. So
I
it's
think
got to
it's
be. Go ahead.
I was just say I think it's interesting to have these multiple production teams making Star Trek at the same time and picking up on similar threads and exploring them.
Yeah.
I think
Exactly.
I think that's cool that you've got the Illyrian thing going on in Strange New Worlds, and now the doll thing going on, and maybe they'll turn out similarly, and maybe they won't. Who knows? You know?
I think they'll have to be, and I'm sure that this is, you know, in the greater discussion. They have to be done in different ways. This has to be resolved and handled, and it's going to have 2 different sets of consequences, and it won't be like an exact parallel. So I think we're going to see the same issue, but sort of like attacked from different angles, and I find that really interesting.
right, but
Yeah.
Also from a practical continuity and history point of
Right.
view, things will be being established in Strange New Worlds that Prodigy will then be
Mhm.
beholden to refer to in its next season.
Mhm.
Right. And I can't wait till we start getting that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Matt Sweatman says Janeway's ability to instantly gain the trust and loyalty of the Protostar's crew contrasts with what we discussed with Jellico.
Man, what if Jellico had been mind swapped with Dial?
Oh my!
Get it done.
Oh, that'd have
Jesus.
been awesome.
It'd been like, no, take this and throw it out of an airlock.
I've
Get
had
it done.
I've had quite enough of Matt's Jellico bashing this episode. Cut his mic.
I think it's just an observation. It's not a
Yeah.
bash.
Yeah, because I mean that's true. The captains that we see are good at gaining the trust of their people.
Mhm.
And the captains that we see in single episodes are the opposite, to show the
Yeah.
contrast.
Right.
Often, yeah, but I mean, Picard wasn't super warm and fuzzy in his first episode either. You
Right.
know, Cisco didn't even want to be there, and Kira was shouting at him. You know, like not everybody is like super popular when they in their first episode. He had to basically, well, I forgot about the term. He had sort of force Quark to stay on the station.
Mm, yeah.
Blackmail.
Blackmail, yeah.
I
That's
knew
true.
you were talking about Quark when he had to do this thing, and I don't know what the thing is. And even before he said Quark, I was like,
Yeah, he's
it's Quark.
trying to keep his underage nephew in jail. If he did.
That wasn't very Starfleet.
No. Right. All right. Any closing thoughts about that?
Let me see.
While Vandy Beth is, yes, go ahead.
I hate it that Janeway referred to the events of Threshold.
Yeah.
Because I would prefer that we all agree never to mention that episode ever
No.
again.
You have to mention that
I
episode.
like Threshold.
cut his mic.
It was amazing
I thought it was
when now I'm blanking on his name. Robert
Beltran?
Beltran.
No.
Oh,
McNeil.
Duncan
McNeil.
McNeil.
Yes, yeah. When he was at Treklanta and he was talking about that, and he was like, "Yep, it was terrible makeup. Everyone hates it." But I thought it was great.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Alan?
I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
No. There's no reason to be. I don't remember. That's my bad. That's on
Okay.
me. It was a good episode.
I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and really, I think the performances really sell it,
Mhm.
Yes.
and really elevate it.
Yes.
For sure.
All right. Well, we'd previously talked about our 100th episode, which is coming up, and we were planning to do it next Thursday, but that's going to be on hold for a little bit. We're having some scheduling issues, so the only thing I can say for certain is that it won't be next Thursday, and that we're still sort of nailing down a date of when we can get together and talk about the 100th episode of all the Star Trek shows that made it that far. The holidays sort of complicate things, and it's my birthday that day, and it's people have holiday plans, and so it's what we need to do is we'll just post on the Facebook group when we're gonna do it, when we're gonna do a live stream, and we'll get that sort of the timing worked out, because we're all sort of hopping around holiday obligations.
Right.
So everyone has next Thursday off. So
Woohoo.
take shore leave.
You know the
Everybody.
the 100th episode of Enterprise is my favorite episode of that show.
They're laughing because they know what that episode is, but I have no idea.
There's not one.
Oh no, there's not one. That's what's funny.
Right.
It ended at 98. It was
Right.
so close. It's that close.
Yep. All right, Alan, where can people find more of you?
Well, people, if they were so inclined, could go to cosmicpress.com, KOZMICpress.com, and they can see a list of my podcast and a list of my books and a list of the books that I've published from other authors. There you
And how
go.
about you, Veronica?
Did you say Veronica or Vandy Beth? I
I
didn't.
said Veronica.
Okay, cool. FeltNerdy.com.
And
Monkeying Around, a podcast about the monkeys.
right. And how about you, Vandy Beth?
Well, you can see me doing stand-up comedy at various venues around Atlanta, and more specifically on January 6th, I will be at the 40 Watt Club in Athens, taking part in an event called 50 First Jokes. I'll be one of 50 comedians, each of us telling a 2-minute long joke for the very first time on stage.
Wow.
So that should be a lot of fun.
Wow,
Yeah.
that sounds awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you have a closing for us this week?
Yes.
Excellent.
Vandy Beth spoiled it earlier, but that's okay.
Sorry.
You mean you want me to exit a starship, go to the middle of a warp bubble, and make physical contact with my own body? Listen, I was once transformed into a salamander. Nothing can be as difficult as that. Let's do it.
Great.
Woohoo!
Okay.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Vandy Beth.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Yes. For us too.
All right, everybody watching, take care. See you whenever we see you.
Yeah.
We don't know when, but we'll see you sometime.